This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning, but we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 17th of May 2019, and I am 2J.
I am 2M.
And I am Miss K, your host. Again, in case you missed it, this is Winning Headlines. Let's take a look at today's headlines. The Star, state to seize graft suspects' assets and cash. Daily Nation, Moi hit with 1 billion shilling fine for land grab. And The Standard, what 210 billion shilling loan means for Kenya.
Yeah. It's a money day, isn't it?
It's a money day. It's also a fun day. I think I want to start with the Daily Nation.
Moi hit with 1 billion shilling fine for land grab.
I think today I want to sound like the podium soda-taking activists.
Correct.
All right, and I want to agree with them. And
with the soda-taking activists,
yes.
Or with the headline?
I love the headline, by the way.
Agreed.
But this is a headline the activists would jump at and say fantastic. All right, and I think this will open a can of worms for past governments that have encroached on people's rights, like they did during so's and so's time. I think paying the price for it now is right.
Yeah, I mean, what this is doing is it's setting a precedent. This is 36 years in the making.
Yeah.
Yes,
this means that 36 years in the future,
yes,
some politicians right now could find themselves in a similar situation.
I'd like to say that I say that this is what Prof always says.
Yeah.
There's the retributive order and the restorative order.
Correct.
We've been living deep in the retributive order
Yes.
currently. There's been a lot of big sticks and lots of loud words.
Yeah.
And I say that when the court orders for a fine to be paid for land that was grabbed in the 80s, that is restorative.
Yes.
Especially because the original owner of the land passed away and this
Yes.
is his family. So
Yeah.
you're restoring the family
Yes.
what they lost in that time.
And I
think that's good.
The biggest part is that it's not just any Tom, Dick, or Harry.
Yeah.
It's former President Moi.
Absolutely.
I think that's the biggest thing about this.
And the ruling had some class. I read a bit of it, and the judge said, the court finds that the statement borders on illegality, impunity, and procedural impropriety. This court cannot protect property that was acquired illegally and within impropriety.
Wow. So I'm going to say we bench this headline, but because you talked about the sins of the future and the sins of the past, I think that when the state wants to seize graft suspects' assets and cash, and the moment you are a suspect, that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Because 35 years from now, my family can come and say, my father was suspected of graft.
Absolutely.
He was later found innocent.
Yes.
Our property was taken away. So we lived in a house. It was in Kilaleshwa. The house was worth 25 million shillings.
Yes.
And it was said that my father stole 4 million shillings. And we had to explain where we got the rest of the money to buy the house, and the house was taken from us.
Yes.
We could come back and get a claim
for
restoration of our property. And I think this is what you're talking about.
Absolutely. Now, I have no problem with attaching assets, all right? What I have a problem with is when the assets are attached. You see, if DPP moves,
I'm not okay.
If DPP moves to attach assets merely based on accusations and speculation, I find that wrong, right? Because he is playing the role of the judge.
But they have been arrested, which means that a case has been made.
Yeah, but they're not guilty yet.
Here's the thing. I think that the legal chain has many links and loops on it. Investigation is one loop.
Yes.
Trial is another loop.
Yes.
Punishment is another loop.
Absolutely.
So I feel like when you take my assets and you have me explain for each and every single one of them and how I got them, that we've jumped the trial stage and we've gone straight into the punishment stage, and you're punishing me for it. What happened to innocent until proven guilty?
Guys, I'm going to completely disagree with you. The thing is, I was looking into what international policy is. Almost every country in the world, I'll say the Western world, and international law as well, say that when you have been arrested and there's a case to be made and it is anti-corruption, mananos, freezing assets is normal policy. And I completely agree with it.
Freezing assets is one thing.
Because I
Because
think
you see-
until you are able to separate the money, and that's also what it says in the headline,
Yeah.
seize property to revert to state if owners fail to account.
That-
So I think the point is, because you have muddied the waters in your own finances,
Yes.
of course you deserve to have your finances
See, I have
frozen.
to question this. Freezing assets in international policy is one thing. It's the equivalent to a stay of execution. We keep everything as is until we know what's what. That's very different because at no point
Yeah.
does the onus shift, does the burden of proof, and you know this, being a lawyer, shift from, I'm serious,
Yes.
shift from the prosecution to the defense to prove that the assets are mine. It shifts on, the burden always stays with the prosecution to prove that those assets frozen are proceeds of crime. Here,
yes, and the
my
thing is,
question with this is that the
true.
burden shifts to me to
My-
prove how I got my stuff.
My point is, I think that it is absolutely correct for the state to freeze those assets
Freeze
until
them.
they can
Freeze them.
determine what was
Freeze
acquired
them.
legally and what was acquired
Freeze
illegally.
them as a stay of execution.
Miss
But
K,
no, don't shift
if you
to
were
the
Miss
burden
K,
of
Miss K, if you left those assets unfrozen, wouldn't you, as one of these?
No.
No,
My
wouldn't you decide to start shifting and moving things? I think the point is, because this is money that is owed to citizens, right? They have to ensure that it is frozen and not moving. These guys are
It will
crooks.
also be money from citizens that will pay
You know what
back
I realized?
any
You know what I realized?
person.
Us as Kenyans, we have a very warped view of corruption.
Us as Kenyans.
Us as Kenyans, we have a very warped view of corruption.
I think it's true. We
have
The-
normalized and sanitized it so much that
There's
when
a difference between corruption and theft.
Boxing match over. We move to next.
Okay, fine then. Let's bring back ourselves to our criteria.
Yes.
We have a three-part criteria that we used to break down the headlines for
But I
you. We
enjoyed
ask
it.
ourselves three questions. Is this headline
it's normally
topical or is
us
it
against Kevin.
speculative? I know. Is this
Friday.
headline repetitive or is it groundbreaking? And finally, is this headline thoughtful or just plain lazy?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tuji. I think today we're just going to be on opposite ends of this.
we are. The thing is, I don't like the headline.
Yes.
We
So
just have
toss
different.
it
Yes, we have different opinions on,
on
the story.
Then
that's
toss the
fine.
headline.
To
Please
us,
do
any
agree.
any opinions? All right.
Finally, what a 2 billion shilling loan means for Kenya.
You can do your monologue now.
It's not a long one.
All right.
You see, Henry Rotich raised $2 billion yesterday, I think, at the London Stock Exchange. And this is for the purpose of Eurobond, right? And I saw everybody saying, oh, here we go again, Eurobond, debt.
Yeah.
Look, if government doesn't have enough money to finance its projects and stuff, they have to raise the money from somewhere.
Yeah.
And look, Kenya is not the only country to have raised the Eurobond. We have neighbors. You have Ghana, you have Tanzania,
Nigeria.
you have countries all around us are raising Eurobonds. And you know why? Because it is the most sought after way of raising funds. Using syndicated loans, very expensive. Using bilateral loans where, people have to sign things and then wait 6 months before the money comes, too expensive. So cut or treat some slack.
Yeah.
So then
Agreed.
I say we toss it because it doesn't tell us anything. It just says
No.
what the loan means for us.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a lazy headline. Yeah. Agreed.
That leaves the Daily Nation. Modi hit with 1 billion fine
Absolutely.
I think it's a
for
great,
land grab.
great headline.
These I love.
Yeah.
So this
I
is our
love.
winning headline.
Yes.
Daily Nation is our winning headline.
Yep.
And on to our next segment, the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country.
Yes.
Just like the headlines, we have a three-part criteria that we use to break them down for you. We ask ourselves three questions. Is the cartoon humorous or is it dry?
Yeah.
Is it satirical or is it pessimistic? And
Yes.
finally, is it effective
Yeah.
or just plain lazy?
Lazy.
You started with the standard,
Started with
we've
standard.
gone international.
Gado.
Yeah, because I want to do away with it very fast.
Agreed.
Caricature of Donald Trump saying, "Where is he run? Where the hell did he run anyway?" See?
I have to tell you, I like your impersonations.
Surrounded by some advisors.
Yeah, I think the context of this is there's a little bit of a tiff between Iran and the United States. And I think there's a military buildup of the Strait of Hormuz or something of that nature. They're just telling us there could be a war
Yeah.
or a
He
strike.
says, where
or
the hell is
happening."
Iran anyway?
Yeah.
I don't think it's funny. It's
Well, it plays on Donald Trump's persona
Ignorance,
and
yeah.
ignorance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we're agreed. It's quite
I think-
boring.
I
Let's
think-
just toss
Okay.
it
Yeah.
immediately. Let's not waste any more time.
Absolutely.
Daily
Alright.
Nation.
Ndula.
Ndula today has disappointed me.
Oh yes, definitely.
This cartoon is repeated. Please remind me. But I have
Yeah.
seen this, and the president was being held, but he was being held by the
Being
prime
held
minister.
by
Raila.
Raila,
And
and
we're
he was
looking-
reaching out to Exim Bank for
Yes,
a loan.
Yes.
Yes.
But now he's being held by the crying Ruto. And
The weight of the president is heavy.
Yes, but they are on a ball, supported by a hungry
Kenyan.
Kenyan, and they all have begging bowls. But Uhuru is
Balancing.
he's doing a balancing act. He's balancing Eurobond 1, 2, and 3. And the point here, Ndula is trying to say that Uhuru went to borrow. Eurobond is not borrowed money.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not a
it's
grant,
not
it's
a
not-
grant. It's not aid.
Not a handout.
You know, Uhuru went to ask for money that he will pay back.
With
or,
interest.
Or Kenya will pay
Yeah.
back. So it is not...
We will pay back.
Yeah, it's not a favor. It's nobody's doing us a favor. This is tax. It will be paid using taxpayers' money.
Yeah, and I think it's wrong of him to say Jubilee skewed hierarchy of needs, because just as you said,
Yeah.
we have obligations that we have to pay up
We
for,
have
so we need the
obligations.
loan.
Yeah, so you take it. I mean,
I think he's misunderstood.
I get pissed off with people who are always pessimistic about if country is moving,
And
if
yeah,
country
we
is
toss
going.
it to them.
And I think that's one of our criteria, is
Yeah.
it? Pessimistic? Yeah.
Absolutely. Now,
Finally.
this I love.
This I don't like. Today, by the way, I was uninspired.
Completely uninspired. Yeah.
You want to describe it?
We have Magoha the bull, and we have Sosion in his position as a matador,
Yeah.
The instigator.
as an instigator,
Yeah.
holding the red cape
Yes.
that the matador would hold.
Yeah.
And in this instance, the red cape is the old curriculum.
Yes.
And the caption that Ozone has put for us here is the bulldozer and the instigator.
Yeah, I think we mentioned this yesterday, just
Yeah.
in passing. Is
Yeah.
Ozone Dula, is Dula Ozone? Because this caricature of Magoha being the bull started with Ndula,
Ndula,
the
with
bull
him
in a China shop.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think the
But-
student is borrowing heavily from the teacher.
But I like this. You know those guys, like in Spain, the way they do
The matador.
the matadors? They're normally skinny guys, eh? See, like Sosion here, he looks like he could play that role very well.
You know, my biggest issue with Ozone is he doesn't understand how to use metaphors effectively.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is no correlation whatsoever
Yeah.
with bullfighting, traditional bullfighting,
Yes.
and Magoha the bulldozer, the old curriculum as the cape,
Yes.
and Sosion as the matador.
matador.
There is no
Yes.
connection at all. I think he needs to go read some books. I think he finds an idea and he runs with it wildly, not understanding what he's trying to say. This is a miss for me.
Also, I don't think that they're matched correctly.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would
I don't know
agree.
if it's a fight of equals, a fight of unequals.
Because traditionally in
And
bullfighting,
when they finish, if the matador wins, don't they eat the bull?
yes, they do. Because what
that's what
happens
happens.
is traditionally the matador is trying to gain control over the bull.
But if
Is that accurate?
But Sosion cannot finish this bull then.
Yeah. Anyway,
It's too big for him.
Hence,
I think
hence the story
cartoons
that
are
TJ
weak
was
today.
saying. We have no winning cartoon. What is our Friday final thought?
Today I feel like a preacher.
take us to church.
And now our final thought. It is inspired by a book entitled The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I'm right. Right? And the central thesis of this book is the story of a young boy named Santiago who left his rural Spain, his rural home in Spain, and went to Egypt to search for a treasure, right? But during his journey, he faced many tribulations. He was conned, he was robbed, he had to work in a crystal shop just to get by, right? Long and short of it, he went back to Spain, right? Because the universe spoke to him in a way and communicated to him that his purpose lied in Spain, and that's where his treasure was, all right? Junie, you want to?
The good thing it's Friday. I don't have to see you until Monday, right? Yeah, I think that's a very good summary.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a story of this boy who has a dream about a treasure,
Yeah.
Yes.
and the treasure is in Egypt. So the
Yeah.
story is of this journey that he goes through, trying to get to Egypt, and all the trials and tribulations, as you said,
Absolutely.
trying to get there.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the story,
Yeah.
the universe tells him that the treasure he was looking for was
Yes.
right back at home where he had that dream.
Yes.
So the story starts with him under a tree sleeping. He has the dream, and he
Absolutely.
goes back at the end of the story and
Yeah.
digs
Yeah.
That tree
tree
where he slept.
exactly, and
to get
that's where his treasure was. And it
Yes.
ended up being a love story as well.
Yeah.
But I'd say the two most important themes of the book
Yeah.
are following your personal legend,
Yes.
which is your purpose,
Yeah.
and the danger of fear.
Yes.
So your personal legend is your purpose, your why, the thing that motivates you and the thing that you're working towards. And I think we could link that with
Yeah.
the book we reviewed a couple of weeks ago, Start With Why, Simon Sinek.
Oh, yes.
Right?
I
You keep saying
remember
that finding your purpose, finding your why is the most important thing.
Yes.
Because if you
So-
know your why, then you can get your way
Exactly,
to it.
the
You
journey
work
is
backwards.
easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is the danger of fear.
Yeah.
So Coelho says that fear is the primary obstacle to Santiago successfully
Yes.
achieving his personal legend.
Absolutely.
So fear is the obstacle to a happy and fulfilled life.
Yes.
So in the story, there are lots of minor characters who you see
Yeah.
are halted and
Yes.
they're boxed in because fear stops them from doing the things that they need to do.
Correct.
So I think one thing we do need to explain is what an alchemist is
Yes.
and what alchemy is.
Yeah.
So alchemy is a medieval practice of chemistry
Yeah.
Yes.
where these crazy people, wizards, I don't know what you would call them,
Yeah.
they would attempt to try and turn base metals
Yeah.
into gold. So that's essentially what it is.
Like
So
Jared Otieno.
Wow.
he's an alchemist, maybe.
He's still concocting.
Not a
That
yeah,
recipe
not
is
a
stuck
successful
somewhere in
one,
JKIA. That recipe is stuck.
Yeah.
So in the end,
Yeah.
he meets the alchemist. He's one of the last characters that he meets.
Yeah.
And the alchemist teaches him how
Yeah.
to listen to his heart.
Yes.
So listening to your heart is part of that, following your personal legend, following
Yeah.
your purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something interesting, talking of wizards, alchemy, finding purpose, journeys, and this is your fault too, Jay. Who told you to introduce movies to the final thought? It made me think about The Wizard of
Maybe
Oz.
we start doing movie reviews.
No. But
Yeah,
I do have a
intellectuals.
parallel. Like
Yes.
I felt like the story parallels The Wizard of Oz,
Yeah.
in which you have a story of Dorothy, a girl who's lost and trying to get her way home,
Yeah.
who's on a journey to the Emerald City to
Yes.
find the Wizard of Oz,
Yeah.
who then will tell her how to get home.
Right.
Yeah.
And on her journey, in
Yeah.
the same way that Santiago goes through very many things,
Yeah.
she gets 3 partners, I
Yeah.
can call them that, who go on the journey with her.
Yeah.
Right.
The first is the Scarecrow. The Scarecrow wanted a brain. He felt
Yes.
like he was stupid, he wanted a brain.
Yes.
The second one is the Tin Woodman, and he wanted a heart.
Hey.
And the third one is the Cowardly Lion, and the
Yes.
Cowardly Lion wanted courage.
Courage, yeah.
Yes.
So she goes on this journey with these 3 characters, trying
Yeah.
to find the Wizard of Oz so that she can find her
back
way
home.
home.
Yeah.
And when they finally get to the Wizard of Oz,
Yes.
they discover that it's actually just an old man who was hiding
a
behind a
con.
curtain
Yeah.
and speaking into a microphone.
Yeah.
But when they do find him, he does something.
Yeah.
He gives a Scarecrow who wanted a brain
Yeah.
a diploma.
Yeah.
Then he gives the Tin Woodman who wanted a heart
Yes.
a heart-shaped clock, ticking clock.
Okay.
And he gives the lion who wanted courage
Yeah.
a medal. And
Yeah.
what he does is that he helps them discover that what they really wanted was
Yeah.
with them all along. Those
Yeah.
attributes that they sought were with them all along. And at the end, I think just like the alchemist made Santiago realize, Dorothy also came to a realization, and she said
Yeah.
that if I ever go looking for my heart's desire again,
Yeah.
I won't look any farther than my own backyard.
Yeah.
Because if it isn't there,
Yeah.
then I never really lost it to
Oh.
begin with.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, the good Lord,
Amen.
the good Lord spoke to me today.
I'm telling you.
He spoke to me, and he gave me a thought, and that thought is for dear President Uhuru Kenyatta. And you know what the thought was?
What?
It was for Uhuru Kenyatta to succeed, he must fail.
And
Right.
that is one of the central theses of the book. He
Yeah.
says, I think
Absolutely.
he says
Yeah.
that the secret of life
Yeah.
is that though you fall 7 times,
Yeah.
you have to get up 8.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you see, the lesson here is whatever you aspire for is within reach, right? You can fail and fail again. You will always wake up, right? But the universe has a way of communicating to you, right? That your purpose is within reach. But for you to realize that, you needed to have failed and failed again. And I think that is a thought for Uhuru, right? He will be conned, he will be robbed, he might get by in a crystal shop, right?
He will also get
But
bashed
at
by
the end
people
of
in the
day-
street as he walks.
Yes, people might throw eggs at him, rotten
Yeah.
eggs. But at the end of the day, he'll go back to his rural Spain where he'll find his treasure.
Rural
Gatundu.
Gatundu, where he will find his treasure. This is Winning Headlines on a day in which we felt inspirational and lofty. We want to be what we say we are, which is speaking truth and speaking positivity about our country and where we're going.
Amen.
We had no winning cartoon, but we do have a winning headline from Daily Nation, which has restored that which was taken by the cankerworms.
And you have a new bishop.
I have a quote from Paulo Coelho from, we have a new bishop. 2M right here. I have a quote from Paulo Coelho from the same book,
Yes.
The Alchemist, in which he says, everyone seems to have a clear idea of how other people should lead their lives, but none about his or her own.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to end with is this.
Yes.
Something he also says,
Right.
listen to your heart.
Yes.
Because wherever your heart is,
Yeah.
that is where you'll find your treasure.
Amen.
Have a great weekend. See you on Monday.